Benvenuto. Welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. Today, we're going to make bread pudding. And not just any bread pudding. We're going to be making bread pudding from 1900 Park Fair in Walt Disney World. Of course, that is in the Grand Floridian Resort. Many, many years ago. I'm not going to tell you how long ago it was, but I will tell you that nobody had a cell phone, and we had a camera that you actually had to buy film for and get it developed. So it's been a while. But that was our first big trip that Wade and I took together, was to Walt Disney World. And we spent 6 glorious days at the Grand Floridian. We went under a plan that was then called the Grand Plan, and it was all-inclusive. Everything you ate, drank, alcohol, even tips were included. So we had a really, really good time. And one of my favorite things there was their bread pudding from the restaurant 1900 Park Fair. We've gone back a couple times, but the last time we went, we didn't stay at the Grand Floridian. We didn't make it over there to get the bread pudding. And I don't know, I was looking online yesterday, and I saw a recipe for it. Now, this says this is the authentic recipe, and it was a little hard to follow, so hopefully it's kind of close. Anyway, so what we're going to need for our 1900 Park Fair bread pudding is, we need, of course, main ingredient, bread. Now, in the recipe, it says a loaf of bread. Well, I'm assuming it doesn't mean a big, gigantic loaf of bread, so I got a loaf of white bread from the bakery section of my supermarket, so that's about a loaf of bread. So again, you don't want the big, gigantic loaf, so that's a loaf of bread. All right, so you need one loaf of bread. You need eggs. In total, we're going to use 9 eggs. 3 of them, we're just going to use the egg yolks. You need, of course, some sugar. We need some cinnamon and salt. And again, this is a Disney recipe, so it is by no means low fat. So you need heavy whipping cream, whole milk, a stick of butter. Now, I'm going to try to stay true to this recipe because I want to see what, if it comes out like I remember it. So I'm going to use the full heavy cream. If I make it again, I might go down to light cream, bring the calorie count and the fat count a little bit more, but we're going to sacrifice for all of our YouTube followers and go with the full fat version. So in general, this is an inexpensive dessert to make. Sorry. One of the best things about this dessert is we're going to make a, I was supposed to see exactly what we call it. A custard cream for it, which is a vanilla custard cream, which I think would be fantastic on anything. So we're going to do those in 2 separate, little segments, so that if you ever just want to make the vanilla custard cream, you could do that as well. So the expensive thing about this recipe is the vanilla bean. So it calls for a half of whole vanilla bean cut in half. And I don't know if you can see, but this little jar has 2 vanilla beans in it, and it costs $16 for those 2 vanilla beans. So this better be a really good bread pudding. Again, if I make this again, if this is a success, because this is the first time we've made this recipe, we haven't made it before. So if this turns out to be a success, I might try it using a vanilla paste or vanilla extract and see if I can kind of adjust it to be the same. So I think that's all the ingredients. All right, let's get baking. We'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, so as I said earlier, every recipe that I found seems to be a little cryptic, so hopefully this is the order that they wanted to go into. Anyway, part of our recipe is a half a stick of unsalted butter, but we have to butter our pan a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of this butter to butter our pan. Okay, so of course, we've done this many times. You want to butter the bottom, make sure you get your butter in the sides. This is a non-stick pan, but I would still butter it anyway. Sometimes, of course, you want that butter on there to give it a little bit of a crust on the edges, plus also to help it not stick. But anyway, so I'm going to butter that nicely up the sides. And make sure you get it in the corners. Now this is a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. If you don't have a 9 by 5, I'm sure a 8.5, because that's usually seems to be the standard size, is an 8.5. I don't know why I mine a 9, but anyway, it'll be fine. You get a little bit thicker of a end product. Okay, so then we're going to put that aside. We're actually going to do this in a water bath, but for now we're going to put the pan aside because we've done what we need to do with it. All right, so in the mix, oh, actually, before we do that, all right, so I got my bread. The recipe says to cut your bread up into 1-inch squares. Again, guys, that couldn't be easier. I didn't use the two ends, the two heels of the bread. I'll eat those later. So again, to roughly about 1-inch pieces. Throw them in our bigger bowl. All right, got that. Done with this. Okay, so then, according to the recipe I have, it says combine the sugar and the eggs. So we got our eggs in the mixing bowl. I'm going to give those a little bit of a mix up before I put my sugar in. Doesn't say to do that in the recipe, but I think it's probably a good idea to get your eggs at least incorporated together. Okay, and then we'll leave it on low and we'll put our sugar in slowly. Okay, speed that up a bit, and it says mix them well together. So we'll probably give that a good 2 minutes on kind of medium low so it doesn't go spraying all over the place. And I'm just going to go put my oven on 350. So you want to preheat your oven to 350. No, I'm sorry. That's 325. So again, I'm sorry. I said 350. It should be 325. So set to preheat the oven at 325. Okay, let's throw our cinnamon. So we got a teaspoon of ground cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of salt. Throw that in there. And we got our 2 cups of whole milk. And let that get all nice and mixed together. And we've got our cup of cream. I knew he'd spill the cream. All right, got our cream in there. Let's clean up our mess. So let's give that 30 seconds or so. Get it all mixed nicely together. And you're going to need some type of stirring device. Smells nice and cinnamony. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so we got our, what is hopefully going to turn into a beautiful custard, and we're going to pour it over our bread. I think bread pudding is one of those things you either love it or hate it. I absolutely love it. I think Wade's one of those ones, he'll enjoy it, but he'd probably rather have a chocolate bar. Right? Let's just kind of get our bread soaking in there. Now in the recipe it doesn't say you have to let it sit or anything, but this is fresh bread, so you don't have to worry about that. If, you know, some recipes use stale bread and you want to let it get all nice and soaked in, but I am going to let it soak in a little bit. So then we're going to get back our loaf pan, and we're going to put it in the loaf pan. And hope it all fits in there. Just trying to turn it so you could see it, but you can imagine the mess I'm making over there. And look at that, it all fit in, yay. So let's kind of flatten it out. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do with that stick of butter that it calls for is I'm just gonna kind of place dollops Remember, I didn't say this was low calorie. It's from Disney, so if it comes out right, it's going to be delicious, not low calorie. This is definitely a free day on your diet. Okay, that will all spread out nicely, hopefully. All right, so then we're going to take that and we're going to put it in another pan, and I'm going to push that off to the side. And then we got some water here, and we're going to fill it up about halfway. Lift it up a little bit, so make sure some of that water goes under the bottom. So just about halfway up your second or your loaf pan. And the idea behind the water bath is it keeps everything at a consistent temperature. I don't know why it isn't, but anyway, it's supposed to make the custard come out better. All right, so at this point, I'm going to put this aside. My oven is still preheating, so I'm going to just put that aside and let that bread soak in a little bit. And in the meantime, I'm going to clean up this mess, and we'll go on to the vanilla custard sauce. So we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, the oven has reached temperature. We got our bread pudding in the pan, of course, on a medium rack. So then we're gonna kind of place that in there gently. Okay, now, according to the recipe, that's going to take an hour or until golden brown. So we're going to hope it's golden brown in an hour. In the meantime, while we wait for that, we're going to get our vanilla custard sauce ready. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Set an oven timer for 1 hour.
Okay, 1 hour. Starting now.
Okay, so we've got our half of vanilla bean, and it says to slice it down the middle. We'll do that. Doesn't have to be in 2 pieces, but the idea is you want to break open that because there's all that delicious vanilla goodness in there. Oh my God, that smells good. All right, so now we've got our half a cup of milk and our half a cup of whole milk and a half a cup of heavy cream. All right, so we're going to get it in a pan. And we're going to put our vanilla bean in there, and we're going to put some heat under it. Now, the directions say to bring it to a boil. We're going to bring it close to a boil. Anyway, so we've got that heating up. All right, and then the next step is, I just want to check that recipe, make sure there's no salt in that. 3 egg yolks, half a cup of sugar, 1/2 vanilla bean that has been split lengthwise, 1 cup milk, 1 cup heavy cream. Okay, so then you need a total of 3 egg yolks. Whatever kind of works best for you. For me, I find that if I crack my egg into a bowl and then using my hand kind of gently go in, take the egg yolk out, let as much as the white out as possible. Right? And then there you have an egg yolk. Throw it in the bowl with the others. Then, of course, wash your hand. Because that's actually where any germs or bacteria that you're going to pick up is actually from the egg whites. You could eat, or I've heard you could eat egg yolks raw. Okay, so if you're really frugal and you want to save your egg whites for an omelet or something the next day, go right ahead. But we're not going to have eggs tomorrow morning, so I'm not going to do that. All right, so then we've got our nice egg yolks in there, and we need to put our half a cup of sugar. And then we want to get these nicely combined. Get your sugar worked in there nice. Because this is a good, if anybody happens to be watching that you're not used to cooking, this is a good way to get used to combining hot milk with your eggs and tempering the eggs. So anyway, we got that. That should be nice. Look at that. It's turned a nice kind of beautiful yellow color. And we can set that aside for now because we've got to bring our milk up to temperature. And when that happens, I'll come back and show you what to do next. All right, guys, as you can see, milk comes to a boil very quickly. So that's all I'm going to let it boil for. I think the prime reason for doing that is so that you start to get your vanilla bean. You can see this. We've got a little bit of the vanilla flakes in there. The stuff is starting to come out. All right, so now the next step is the tricky step. All right, so we're going to start to very, very slowly incorporate this into our eggs and sugar. All right, so I'm going to keep that stirring at first. I'm just going to put a tiny, tiny bit in there. And this is called tempering the eggs, right? So we don't want scrambled eggs. And you can see so far, the eggs haven't scrambled, but we're also getting that butter nicely dissolved. So let's put a little bit more in. This is one of those things that if you can get used to with cooking, you can make almost anything baking-wise. And it just, can't be afraid to do it. Give it a try. All just about adding it slowly. I could probably go ahead and dump it all back in there all at once now because it's probably about the same temperature, but I think on this, a little better to be a little cautious and take your time. Oh, it smells delicious. You can smell the cream and the vanilla. Mmm. Okay, then the next step is you're actually going to put it back on the heat. Look at that, guys. No scrambled eggs. Yay, it came out. All right, so then we're going to take that. We're going to put this back on our heat source. Get all your goodness out of there. But we're going to put this on very low. And we're gonna, you want to kind of stick close to it. This is not something you want to walk away from because we're going to just bring this up to a really, really light simmer and let it thicken up. So again, you want to kind of stick close to it. Give it a stir every once in a while. Like I said, if this comes out, God, you could use this sauce on this custard sauce. It smells absolutely divine. You could use this on, because we're going to let this cool. So, because this is actually served cold. That's the way I remember it being served at the Grand Floridian. But you could put this on ice cream. Oh, it would really be good with strawberry shortcake. Drizzle a little around on your shortcake before you put your strawberries on it and your whipped cream. That would be delicious. All right, so you don't have to listen to me talk. I'm just going to let this simmer slowly, and as it starts to thicken up, we'll come back and show it to you. Okay, everybody, so I've had this on low. It's been just about 10 minutes, give or take a minute or two. And I've just kind of been standing here and just kind of stirring it slowly. You just want it to just slightly thicken. It will thicken a little bit more as it gets cool. We don't want it to be pudding. We want it to be a cream. All right, so then you'll see here in this bowl, I have my bowl that I mixed everything in and a bowl of ice, okay, because we want to cool this down. All right, so I think that is good. Now, a couple of the recipes I saw, it says to strain it. I don't see any need to strain it, other than it says to strain it to get the vanilla bean out. Well, there's the vanilla bean, and I think it came out beautiful, so I'm not going to strain it. I'm going to pour it all into my bowl. Now, I guess if you had a little bit of scramble going on, and then I'm going to just start to stir it a bit, and we don't have to stand here and continue to stir it, but we do want it to cool down. And this will help it cool down faster so that it's not that hot when you put it in the refrigerator. And that's probably going to take a good 5 minutes. So you can see it's thickened up slightly. There's no lumps. We've got our beautiful kind of buttery color to it. And we've got some nice little flecks of our vanilla bean in there. Maybe that's the reason that particular recipe said to strain it. I like to see the little flecks of vanilla bean in there. I guess if you were gonna make it for a really, really fancy dessert, you might not want to see that. But anyway, I'm not gonna do that. But you can strain it if you'd like. All right. So like I said, that's going to take a good 5 minutes. We'll come back. I'll show you how much it's thickened up a little bit, cooling down. All righty. See you in a bit. Okay, guys, I've let this been cooling for about 5 minutes now. You can see it has thickened up a bit. It still smells delicious, and I tasted it. It tastes delicious. So what I'm going to do is we still have about a half hour left for our bread pudding in the oven, and then that needs to cool a bit. So I'm going to leave this in its little ice bath. I'm going to put a cover on it. But you want to bring this. This is going to be chilled. It has to be totally chilled. So at this point, you could just put a cover on it, do a nice tight cover so not too much air gets in it, develop a skin, and then throw it in the refrigerator. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do. So I guess the next time we see you, we'll be having dessert. Okay, it's been an hour, and I'll tell you, it smells delicious. All right, let's see how golden brown we've gotten. Ooh, that looks pretty golden brown. I'm just going to put it up here and set it down and take a look at it. I think it's done. Of course, it is going to set up a little bit more as it cools. We can see some of my butter has come out into the water, so I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I should have mixed the butter in, but anyway, we'll see how it tastes and we'll make a decision. But I am going to take it out of the water, okay? And I've got just a tea towel there, just so it doesn't get water all over the counter. Now, this is going to have to cool quite a bit before we can cut into it. I'm going to say I can't remember for the life of me if it was served hot or cold. I know the vanilla custard sauce was cold, and I'm pretty sure the bread pudding was at room temperature. Anyway, we're going to let this cool down, so it's going to have to probably cool a good half hour, maybe even to an hour, before you can cut into it. And then we'll have dessert. See you guys later. Hey everybody! Actually, this is the day after we made this. By the time we wrapped up cooking and everything yesterday, it was kind of late, so we decided to save our tasting and our dessert for today. So everything has been nicely chilled in the refrigerator all night, and that vanilla custard sauce, I'll pour some on, so a little bit extra so you can see it going on. Look at that. That is delicious. All right, let's give it a taste. So this is bread pudding from 1900 Park Fair, Walt Disney World, right in Floridian, Resort.
Cheers.
Good. You know,
No.
it's down close to what I remember
Yeah.
how it tasted.
No.
Now, if that is 100% authentic, the recipe, I don't know. But it is very good. I did end up letting you cook a little bit longer than an hour, excuse me. Last time we left you guys, I took it out. It looked really pretty, all nice and golden brown, and I felt it was a little bit too, not quite firm enough. So I would say, using that recipe, it needs more than an hour. I would say probably an hour and 15 to an hour and 20. You don't want to burn it, but of course you also want it to be firm all the way through. The only other thing I would think is, I think at 325 it's a really low temperature to cook it at. But anyway, like I said, this was our first time we made this. If you follow the instructions in it, I think you'll.
That is delicious.
Absolutely delicious. And what I've been testing a new recipe. Well, not a new recipe to me. Today, it smells absolutely delicious. Not quite done yet, but hopefully we'll bring that to you next time we see you. Thank you so much, and
Like us, please.
Please.
Subscribe. And see this recipe being made step by step on cherryhillhomecooking.com.
delicious. Ciao.
Delicious. Bye.
I don't know why I like it so much, but I like it so much.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought it was nice to me. Okay.